10,000 steps. You have heard that number your entire life. It is on your fitness tracker, in your doctor's office pamphlets, the default goal on every health app ever built. And most people treat it as an arbitrary target, something to chase on good days and ignore on bad ones. Here is what nobody tells you. The 10,000 step target did not come from a clinical trial. It did not emerge from decades of research at Harvard or the Mayo Clinic. It came from a Japanese marketing campaign in 1965. A pedometer manufacturer called Yamasa released a device called the Manpo K, which translates literally to 10,000 steps meter. The number was chosen because the Japanese character for 10,000 resembles a walking figure. That is the origin of the goal that has shaped global health behavior for 60 years. But here is the thing. The marketing campaign accidentally landed on something real. Because when researchers studied what happens to the human body at sustained daily step counts around 10,000, what they found was genuinely extraordinary. Not because 10,000 is a magic number, but because it represents a threshold above which the human body begins to repair systems that sedentary living has been quietly destroying. A 2019 study in JAMA Internal Medicine, tracking over 16,000 adults, found that mortality risk dropped progressively as daily step counts increased. A 2020 study in JAMA Network Open, covering over 4,800 adults, found consistent dose-response relationships between daily step count and cardiovascular disease risk, metabolic dysfunction, and all-cause mortality. 10,000 puts most people well inside the range where the benefits are large, consistent, and documented across dozens of independent studies. Today, I am going to tell you exactly what happens to your body week by week when you commit to 10,000 steps every day, organ by organ, system by system, because the transformation is not just physical, and most of it begins far sooner than you would expect. Week 1. The first 7 days of consistent daily walking at 10,000 steps produce changes that begin within hours of your first session and accelerate through the week in ways that most people never notice because they are looking for the wrong signals. The most immediate change is in your blood. Within the first 24 to 48 hours of sustained aerobic activity, your body begins upregulating the production of nitric oxide in the endothelium, the single-cell layer lining the inside of every blood vessel in your body. Nitric oxide causes vasodilation. Your blood vessels relax and widen. Blood pressure drops. Blood flow to peripheral tissues increases. A 2018 study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that a single bout of moderate-intensity walking produced measurable reductions in systolic blood pressure lasting up to 22 hours. By day 3 or 4 of consistent daily walking, this effect begins to accumulate. The endothelium is adapting. Baseline nitric oxide production is increasing. Your blood pressure is dropping not just during and after the walk, but at rest. Your insulin sensitivity begins to shift in week 1 as well. Each bout of walking depletes glycogen in your working muscles, which creates an immediate demand signal for glucose uptake independent of insulin. The glucose transporter GLUT4, which normally requires insulin to move glucose from the bloodstream into muscle cells, begins to translocate to the cell surface through a separate exercise-driven pathway. This means your muscles are absorbing blood glucose more efficiently, with less insulin required. A 2013 study in Diabetologia found that breaking up sedentary time with short bouts of walking reduced postprandial blood glucose levels by 30% compared to uninterrupted sitting. By the end of week 1, if your meals have not changed, your blood glucose response to those meals is already measurably different. Your brain is changing in week 1 as well, and this is the part that surprises most people. Within 72 hours of beginning regular aerobic exercise, the hippocampus begins increasing its production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, the protein responsible for neuron growth, synaptic strengthening, and the consolidation of new memories. A 2011 landmark study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that adults who began a regular walking program showed measurable increases in hippocampal volume within 1 year. But the neurochemical changes, the BDNF increase, the improved mood, the sharper morning cognition, those begin in week 1, not year 1, within days. Week 2 and week 3. By the 2nd and 3rd weeks, the cardiovascular adaptations that began in week 1 are deepening in ways that are now measurable on objective tests. Your resting heart rate is beginning to drop. The heart, like any muscle subjected to regular aerobic demand, adapts by becoming more efficient. The left ventricle increases slightly in volume. Each contraction pumps a larger volume of blood, what cardiologists call increased stroke volume. Because each beat is now doing more work, the heart does not need to beat as frequently at rest. This reduction in resting heart rate is not just a fitness metric. As we have discussed in previous videos on this channel, every reduction in resting heart rate is associated with measurably lower all-cause mortality. You are buying time, beat by beat. Your mitochondria are multiplying. Sustained aerobic exercise signals the pathway controlled by a protein called PGC1-alpha to increase mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria in muscle cells. More mitochondria means more capacity for aerobic energy production, which means the same walking pace that felt effortful in week 1 feels easier in week 3. Not because your muscles are larger, but because your cells have become more metabolically capable. A 2014 study in the Journal of Physiology confirmed that mitochondrial density in the skeletal muscle of previously sedentary adults increased significantly within 3 weeks. Your joints are adapting. Cartilage in the knees, hips, and ankles does not have a direct blood supply. It receives nutrients through synovial fluid, and synovial fluid circulation depends on the compression and decompression that occurs during movement. Walking is one of the most efficient drivers of synovial fluid circulation in the weight-bearing joints. Studies consistently show that moderate daily walking reduces joint stiffness, improves cartilage hydration, and decreases inflammatory markers. The joints that feel stiff in week 1 feel more mobile by week 3. Not because the cartilage has regenerated, because it is being nourished properly for the first time in months or years. Your sleep architecture is shifting. A 2019 meta-analysis in Sleep Medicine Reviews analyzed data from 29 randomized controlled trials and found that regular, moderate-intensity aerobic exercise, including walking, significantly improves sleep onset latency, sleep duration, and sleep quality scores, with improvements appearing within 2 to 3 weeks of beginning the program. The mechanism involves multiple pathways: reduced cortisol, increased adenosine accumulation during walking that drives sleep pressure, regulation of circadian rhythm through morning light exposure during outdoor walks, and the temperature drop after exercise that signals the brain to initiate sleep onset. Week 4. The end of the first month is where the changes that have been accumulating under the surface become visible and felt in daily life. Body composition is shifting. Walking at 10,000 steps burns approximately 400 to 500 calories per day for an average adult, though this varies significantly with body weight, terrain, and pace. Over 4 weeks, this represents a cumulative caloric expenditure equivalent to approximately 3 to 4 pounds of fat tissue. But the composition change is not just about calories. The insulin sensitivity improvements mean that the hormonal environment governing fat storage and mobilization has shifted. Lower baseline insulin means fat cells are more accessible for energy. The loss of visceral fat, the metabolically active fat that surrounds the abdominal organs, tends to be disproportionate, a finding confirmed by multiple imaging studies. Visceral fat is the fat that drives systemic inflammation, and its loss is key. Your inflammatory markers have dropped measurably. C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha are all reduced by sustained moderate aerobic exercise. A 2019 systematic review in preventive medicine, covering 73 studies and over 4,000 participants, found consistent reductions in inflammatory markers in adults who walked regularly for 4 or more weeks. This is not peripheral. Chronic low-grade inflammation is the common biological mechanism underlying cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, cognitive decline, and several cancers. Reducing it through daily walking is not a cosmetic improvement. It is targeting one of the most fundamental drivers of chronic disease. Your prefrontal cortex is measurably different at 4 weeks. The BDNF increases that began in week 1 have now been sustained for long enough to support structural changes. New synaptic connections have formed. Working memory capacity has improved. A 2020 study in Neuroimage found that adults who walked for 30 or more minutes daily showed increased gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus after 6 weeks compared to sedentary controls, with early structural signals appearing at the 4-week mark. The brain you have at the end of week 4 is not the same brain you had at the beginning. It has grown, literally, in the regions most responsible for memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Week 8 and beyond. 2 months of 10,000 daily steps. The physiological age of the body has measurably diverged from the chronological age in the direction of youth. A 2017 study in preventive medicine measured telomere length, the protective caps on chromosomes, whose shortening is one of the most reliable markers of biological aging in regular walkers versus sedentary controls. Regular walkers had measurably longer telomeres, equivalent to a biological age approximately 9 years younger than sedentary individuals of the same chronological age. 9 years from walking. The cardiovascular risk profile looks dramatically different from baseline. Resting heart rate is down 5 to 10 beats per minute. Blood pressure has dropped an average of 4 to 9 millimeters of mercury systolic, comparable to the effect of a low-dose antihypertensive medication. HDL cholesterol has risen. Triglycerides have fallen. LDL particles have shifted from the small, dense type associated with cardiovascular risk to the larger, buoyant type associated with lower risk. Your gut microbiome has restructured. A 2019 study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that regular aerobic exercise increased short-chain fatty acid-producing bacteria, associated with reduced inflammation and better metabolic health. A healthier microbiome feeds back through the gut-brain axis, improving mood regulation, stress response, and cognitive function. The immune system is more robust and more precise. Moderate daily walking increases natural killer cell activity, improves adaptive immune surveillance, and reduces the chronic inflammatory state that impairs immune function with age. A 2019 paper in the Journal of Sport and Health Science described daily walking as one of the most consistently documented interventions for improving immune competence across all age groups. Here is what I want you to carry out of this video. The 10,000 step number came from a pedometer advertisement in 1965, but the biology it accidentally targeted is real, documented across hundreds of independent studies, and available to anyone with functional legs in 30 to 40 minutes of daily time. Week 1. Your blood pressure drops, your insulin sensitivity improves, your brain starts producing BDNF. Week 2 and 3. Your heart becomes more efficient, your mitochondria multiply, your joints are nourished, your sleep deepens. Week 4. Your inflammation falls, your body composition shifts, your prefrontal cortex begins to grow. Week 8. Your biological age has measurably separated from your chronological age in a direction that no supplement, no pharmaceutical, no intervention in the history of medicine has consistently matched at this scale, this safety, and this cost. The cost is zero. The equipment is your body. The location is wherever you are standing right now. How many steps did you take yesterday? Be honest. Drop the number in the comments. I read every single one. And subscribe to the channel because next week we are going into another intervention so simple and so underestimated that the research around it will change how you think about your own biology. I will see you there.